Tell you what, that sure turned around quickly, didn't it? Welcome back, folks. It is the first segment of the Chris Richman Show for Wednesday, May 21st, 2025. Welcome in. Wow. What I'm laughing about, and I'm going to start this off, I'm going to start today's broadcast off because there's a whole lot of things to talk about. I want to start off on a little bit lighter note, just because this to me is the market telling the in this case the auto industry, but telling business where it wants to go. This is the people speaking up, right? The you, me, and everybody else. So this started probably 2 weeks ago, 4 days or a week ago, somewhere in there. And it's probably about 2 weeks ago, maybe even sooner, or maybe even sooner than that. No, I would argue it started, honestly, probably around the end of last year. So for those of you who don't follow the auto industry, Dodge just recently redid the Charger, right? They had the Charger and the Challenger, which were two pretty popular models, but they were getting old. I mean, these were from, the original versions before revision were from like 2006, 2008, somewhere in there, 2010 maybe. But they were getting on in years. And rather than completely redesign them from the ground up, as is, they decided, you know what, we're going to completely get rid of gas engines and just go all electric with it. Well, that didn't go well, especially when you consider that, the Challenger and the Charger being the four-door sedan version, the Challenger being a two-door, were very popular for their V8s. You had the V6 versions, which actually made quite a bit of power. I drove several as rental cars. But then you had the 5.7 liter Hemi, which was pretty powerful in and of itself. Then you went up to the 6.4 liter Hemi in like the Scat Pack, and they were very quick, phenomenal sounding too, wonderful sounding. Whoever tuned the exhaust at Dodge did a great job. And then if you really wanted to go nuts, you went up to the Hellcats. So this was a 6.2 liter. So they sized the engine a little bit, but then supercharged it. And those started off at 707 horsepower. 707. And then in their most extreme form, with the Demon, that was back in, what was it, 2019? Something like that. I don't remember. Anyway, the Demon made 840 horsepower on race gas. Only 808, on pump gas. Good Lord. And then, of course, there was a 426 variant of the Demon called the what was it called? The Elephant, which was a crate engine, 1,000 horsepower crate engine. Wild engine. And, of course, they had special, additions, all that. And so, but they wanted to get away from those. They decided we're going to go full woke. Tim Kuniskis left, who was the driving force behind that. And Dodge said, well, we're going to, they went woke. And they said, we're going to go electric with this. And they made the Charger. They dropped the Challenger completely. And then made the Charger, you could get it with the 2-door or 4-door. And initially, EV only. And that went away pretty quickly when they said that, when they first said EV only, and people said, nope, you're doing a gas version. So then they were like, no, we'll have a gas version, but it'll be out a year after the electric version. And people said, okay, you can do that, but you won't sell any Chargers that first year. And the data started to pile up, and the pre-orders were showing, we're not going to sell anything. By the way, just about forgot. There we go. And so they said, okay, well, the gas engine they were going to use would be the twin turbo straight six, the SST, essentially, the straight six turbo. And they said, oh, well, we're going to bring that up. And the rumor was they were going to have it come in as early as March. Well, that didn't happen. So people were like, well, what the hell's going on? And so people were getting more and more pissed. So this is a couple days, about a week or so ago, I guess, actually. They said, well, probably 2 weeks ago, we're going to trim back we're still going to do the gas engine, but we're going to trim back the original base model electric charger, and we're just going to have the Scat Pack, which was, the initial high performance offering. Well, that still didn't go over well. And now guess what? They've completely canceled the electric RT. 1 year. Not even 1 year. So this has been in several, now I have to, and I'm trying not to be, have the whole Schadenfreude thing going on, but I can just see the team at Motor Trend writing this. Now, USA Today, they don't care. But Motor Trend, I've renamed Motor Trend. I did this several years ago. I renamed them, in my opinion, Electric Trend, because all it was electric. All they cared about. They had the inevitable with the EV accentuated, and you had Ed Lowe and Johnny Lieberman over there going, oh yeah, they had all these people talking about, well, electric cars are the future. Are you still driving a gas car? You're an idiot. Essentially making it seem like if you were still driving a gas car, you were, wow, what the hell is wrong with you? So here's the line from Motor Trend. This was 4 days ago. The market speaks, Dodge listens, and an electric Charger Daytona is eliminated. Okay? So that's when they're talking about the base model. Now, it must have pained them. I can just see Ed Lowe, the editor-in-chief, over there going, what are we going to do, guys? Nobody wants the electric car. We can't write about this. We built the whole, we've gone to where we're basically making the whole thing about this. What are we going to do? Oh, it got worse. So now, let's pull up the USA Today article. Dodge is pulling the plug. This is Dodge is pulling the plug on electric Charger RT, or Charger Daytona RT, amid lackluster sales. Eric Lawrence, Detroit Free Press, wrote this. Dodge is pulling the plug, so to speak, on its base model electric Charger Daytona, the RT, as it deals with slow sales, but don't expect what appears to be a limited edition run of vehicles to turn into collector's items, according to an industry watcher. Rarity does not make a collectible. You have to have demand for it, said Sam Fiorani, Vice President of Global Vehicle Forecasting for Auto Forecast Solutions. You can't presume this will be a Charger Daytona of 1970. They couldn't sell those originally, and years later they were collectible. Anyway, so apparently, well, I don't know. They're supposedly going to still offer the Daytona, or the Scat Pack, rather. I don't buy it. Electric Charger sales, the company did not distinguish between versions. For the first 3 months of this year, we're at, are you ready for this? Now, this is a major automotive company, okay? This is not a boutique brand like Ferrari or Lamborghini or Pagani or, Koenigsegg or something like that, okay? First 3 months of the year, 1,947. Yeah. Now, of course, they try and soften this. Well, granted, they were just beginning to arrive in showrooms in January after months of delays. Yeah, the months of delays were Dodge going, oh, crap, we're getting killed. 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 People are just trashing this thing. Now, the automotive media, they were out there going, oh, it's so amazing. This thing is so great. It's so cool. And the noise it makes, oh, wow. Whoever at Dodge thought it would be neat, they did a great job with this. The noise is artificial. They have an artificial noise generation that makes it sound like this electric car has an internal combustion engine. That's how stupid this is. An artificial noisemaker. Basically, they've got a noisemaker in there. They've got, they took, if you're wondering, apparently they figured out, oh, well, little kids have noisemakers. We can too. Now, part of this also is because when they realized how stupid this was and how Dodge's sales have gone into the tank because they got rid of the Hemi, they didn't they went full woke with this electric BS, and they saw their sales dip as a result. The three, peers there, they got rid of the guy they brought over. I can't remember his name now. And it was a big name, and brought back Kaniskas. And Kaniskas said, yeah, bring the Hemi back, please. Right now, do it now. And so they did. Wow. I mean, it's just, let me put it to you this way. I told you about this. When my wife and I went to buy a car a couple of years ago, or year and a half ago, 2 years ago. We get in there into the Ford dealership, and we already knew the car we wanted to buy. It was all set up. And they had rows on rows of electric cars there. They had piles of electric delivery vehicles. They had, 6 or 7, I think, so-called Mustang Mach-E's. They said, and when we were talking to the salesman about it, he says, the only ones I sell once in a while are the Lightnings, the F-150 Lightnings. And the thing with that is, again, what does it do that a gas engine can't? And here's the thing, and this is the funny thing. So over in, say, Seattle, okay, in Washington State, or Portland if you're in Oregon, LA, that kind of thing. There you're going to find people buying electric vehicles because they don't really go a lot, don't go many places. But the problem is it's kind of God saying, I think, a little bit of, really? The fires in California back in, 2018, to me, were the first kind of wake-up call to people. And we've talked about this before, but, where, the power go down, and all these electric vehicles, Teslas, it didn't matter, whatever it was, okay? That was most of it at the time, was Tesla. They became 5,000, 6,000 pound paperweights. That's all they were, because they couldn't be recharged. So they couldn't go anywhere because the power was down. And then you had the conflict in Ukraine, okay, where there was an ask of Elon Musk to turn off all the Teslas in Russia. And Elon said, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. But the mere fact that the U.S. government, meaning the U.S. government, made it apparent and obvious that, oh, by the way, we can do this. Somebody at the State Department really screwed that up. And so that right there made a lot of people go, wait a minute. I don't want this. Nope. I want to be able to run my car when I want to, where I want to, and how I want to, for the most part. This is not cool. But it shot a lot of people in the foot. And then when the Lightning came out, the F-150 Lightning, and again, Motor Trend was all over. The whole automotive media was in fits of ecstasy about the F-150 Lightning. Finally, a truck for the masses, the best-selling half-ton truck in the world, now is electric. And then they tested it, okay? And they found, unloaded, running around town and all that stuff, it does pretty well, okay? But the second you put a trailer on it, the range gets cut, 30% or something like that. It's an absurd amount, okay? And worse, if it's cold, you're really screwed. The cold saps the crap out of that battery, okay? And oh, by the way, the charge times. That was the other thing, is people would buy electric vehicles, and you'd hear horror stories of this. They'd buy it and go and charge it. Oh, what do you mean I have to spend 45 minutes to get a full charge? Or an hour and 45 minutes, or whatever it is. I've got to get to work. I don't have time to spend this much time. So, okay, we come home, plug it in every night. Guess what? There goes your electric bill, way up. And oh, by the way, if you're traveling, now you have to go back to the old days and plan, right? Because it's not like with a gas car where you can go in and pull in and just fill it up and go. No. No, now you have to go, let's see here. So I'm going from here over to here, and let me see here. There's no charging stations here, 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 or here. So I'm going to have to charge up here. Let's see. That's about this many miles. Ooh, boy, it's going to be cutting it close. I wonder if there's hills. You see what I'm saying? It's silly. It's absolutely silly. And, the other fact that a lot of people made fun of was, I ran out of juice. I need to charge. I'll call the number. So they call the number, and guess what? Gas-powered vehicle comes out with a generator to charge the electric car. Oh, yeah. But again, and in this case, it really was there. People didn't want a muscle car, a real muscle car, to be replaced. Chevy was looking at having an electric Camaro. Didn't go anywhere. Now, I've said in the past, and I still think they could do this if they really wanted to, have gas engine cars, and then take some of these nameplates that y'all have killed, you all meaning the electric, or the car companies rather, and bring them back as electric nameplates. So, for example, with Stellantis, Dodge, or rather Chrysler, what used to be called Chrysler, bring back the Plymouth nameplate and have a gas, okay, have a gas charger and Challenger, okay, with the Hemis, with all that other fancy fun stuff, okay, and then have the electric versions, which they can be restyled a little bit. Why not, right? A little bit of difference. Have them be the Roadrunner, if you want, or whatever, the GTX. I don't care, whatever. And then the CUDA. Why not? Why not do that? Why would you take, like, for example, with the Mustang, okay? There's the Mustang. That what they call the Mach-E is not a Mustang. It's not. There's nothing to it. There's nothing Mustang about that vehicle. Nothing. Why wouldn't you instead say, okay, now here's the thing with Mercury. It used to be a high performance brand, and then it went into the tank, right? But so maybe with that one, I don't know. I mean, you could bring it back. You bring back the Cougar, have it be the Mercury Cougar. Make an electric version of the next generation Mustang. Okay. Different, maybe a little bit different design, but have that be the Mercury Cougar. Give it to Motor Trend. Let them run with it. Let them have fun with it. Who knows? Maybe it'll work. You've got an iconic nameplate. Mercury by itself, kind of became not an old people thing, but it definitely was in there, right? Because Mercury for a lot of years was boring cars and minivans. That's what it was. Okay, so bring some excitement back to it. With GM, make a Camaro. Or, if you don't want to do a Camaro, have the electric car be a Pontiac Firebird. I'm just saying. Anyway, I find it funny that I'm glad, don't get me wrong, I'm glad that Dodge finally listened. That is great. I am happy about that. It makes me happy. Because again, it just goes to show you that if you speak loud enough as the consumer, eventually someone will listen, especially if it's a gearhead like Tim Kuniskis. All right. We spent a lot of time on that. Apologies. I didn't quite mean to spend that much time, but to me, it's important that American, traditions have not gone away. All right, let's take a quick music break. We'll be back and we'll start digging into some of the political things of the day. All right, back to it here, folks, on the Chris Richman Show. Welcome back. I want to actually start this part off, this segment of the segment, with a little bit of sad news. So Representative Jerry Connolly passed away yesterday, I guess it was, and Virginia Democrat, made a big name for himself. I don't want to speak ill of the dead. I don't. But he basically made a name for himself by taking taxpayer money and spending it in Virginia. I don't know why spending other people's money makes you a big name. Apparently that's what it takes. Anyway, but to his family and friends, coworkers and all that, my condolences, especially again to his family. My condolences. I hope he knew the Lord, and I hope he is with the Lord right now. So rest in peace, sir. Okay. Let's hit let's hit the WNBA next. Why not? This whole thing with Angel Reese rather, and Caitlin Clark has made a bad situation in the WNBA even worse. Now, again, last year, Caitlin Clark basically brought the WNBA back from the brink of insolvency, so to speak. It really wasn't going anywhere. It just wasn't doing anything. The league had become very woke, and so a lot of people who traditionally, would support it weren't. Caitlin Clark broke Pete Maravich's scoring record in college, got drafted, and last year was her rookie year, and she brought a level of excitement to the WNBA that wasn't there. Now, Angel Reese was also a very good player and came in and, again, didn't perform at quite the level that Caitlin did, but still made a big deal. Well, this happened a couple nights ago. There was a game between, I think it was the first game of the season, the regular season, for the Fever and the Sky, Caitlin Clark's Indiana Fever and Angel Reese's Chicago Sky. And Angel Reese, on a rebound attempt, pushed a Fever player rather aggressively. Should have been a foul. No question about it, to me. And Caitlin Clark pointed that out. The referee didn't do anything, and so Caitlin Clark said, hey, you're not scoring on me. You're not scoring on my team that easily, and fouled her back. Fouled her, again, in an area that would have been, it probably could have been a flagrant foul. She brought her, if she had just taken her, and blocked the ball, but she kind of brought her arm up a little bit to make a bit of a point, and that got her a flagrant. Now, she walked away after that, and Angel Reese started jawing at her, jumping up at her. Now, Angel Reese, she is rather famous for her, people would say aggressive style of play. I would say flat out bullying style of play. She takes down people aggressively quite often, and I don't know, doesn't get called for it, which I find interesting. And you can look this up, but it's just the way she plays. Well, when someone got physical with her, that didn't go over well. Anyway, they showed this from several angles. They very rarely show the lead up to it. That's the thing. So now, what happened next is when Angel Reese went to take the free throw that was associated with that flagrant, she missed. And leading up to that, there was a lot of booing and, attempts to distract the player at the free throw line, which is common. That's common whether it's high school basketball, college, professional, whatever. That happens all the time. And it's not just basketball. In soccer, what is accurately called football, whenever there's a penalty kick, people are trying to get in the taker's head. If it's baseball, people are trying to get in the pitcher's head or the batter's head. It's a common thing, right? Well, so now I can't believe I'm saying this, and this is from something called NBA Central, or that's how it's spelled. I don't know. And Dave Portnoy retweeted this, Barstool Sports. The WNBA is considering banning fans from booing to create a safer emotional environment for visiting players. Are you kidding me right now? These people are paid a lot of money, a hell of a lot more money than most of the people attending the game. Now, they also charge a boatload for the tickets. I looked up tickets for my local team, right? Well, relatively local, which would be the Seattle Storm. The cheapest ticket was $167. Now, I never went to a Seattle Sonics game when they were here because the Sonics, the prices were absurd. This was what, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever it was. And it was about that much. It was absurd, absolutely absurd, especially when you could get Mariners tickets for half that. Now, they were high, up in the stands, but then so were these. And so it didn't make a lot of sense to me. And the same thing with Seahawks tickets. Although at the time, I'm still not really a big Seahawks fan, but whatever. So the thing is these people are professional athletes. This is what they do. They play, in this case, basketball. That's what they do. It takes a level of mental toughness, and it definitely takes buy-in, right? You can't go and play professionally if you're not bought into it. If you don't have, as Obama used to say, skin in the game. And now they're worried about creating a safer emotional environment for visiting players? No. Anywhere in the world you go into, if you're a visiting player or visiting team, you're going to get booed. You're going to get whistled if it's football, world football. That's going to happen. That's part of it. You go in there, and part of the fun of playing sports, if you're the visiting team, is if you can go in and beat that home team, you start to revel in those whistles. You say, they're mad because we beat their guys or girls. We beat them. That was part of the fun. So I don't quite understand what they're trying to do here. They're saying they're going to investigate this thing with Angel Reese because it was there was racism. And of course, Angel Reese is all over this, oh yeah, I like that they're taking this seriously and blah, blah, blah. Let's actually hear that. So this was from Josh Friedman, retweeted by Jason Whitlock. So let's hear what Angel Reese says about this investigation into what happened on the technical foul.
Yeah, obviously there's no place in this league for that. I think the WNBA,
for what?
Team and our organization has done a great job supporting me. I've had communication from everyone, from so many people across this league, and being able to support me. Going through this whole process. Obviously, it could happen to me, it could happen to anyone, and I think they've done a great job supporting us in this.
Okay, so going through this process, what you mean playing a game? I mean. And no offense, but she has come off since day one as kind of a prima donna. Angel Reese has. And I'm not saying that because I don't, because I like Caitlin Clark and I don't like her. No, it's not like that. She comes off as a prima donna, kind of like LeBron James. LeBron James has gotten that way too. Everything's about LeBron. LeBron walks in the room, LeBron is here, right? That's kind of the feeling I get with Angel Reese is, oh, Angel's here. In the third person, right? So what exactly is she referring to here? I mean, you got booed. You got whistled, you got, people were trying to distract you so you'd miss your shot. How is that racist in any way, shape, or form? They do the same thing if they were playing in Chicago, and they probably will, when they have a game in Chicago versus the Fever. You can bet your bottom dollar Caitlin Clark is going to get booed when she goes up to the foul line. Assuming she takes foul shots, she will get booed. That's going to happen. Or she'll get, whistled or miss, brick, that kind of thing. Dave Portnoy, again, said, to clarify, I yelled, ball don't lie, when Angel missed the tech. WNBA wants to cuff and stuff me for that. Yeah. How do they think this is going to grow the game? That's what I don't understand. How do they think it's going to grow the game?
Trying to do your job, trying to play, having this going on simultaneously?
Yeah, obviously it's tough, but I think I have a great support system. I'm loved by so many people.
The ego. I'm loved by so many people. Who says that? Honestly. If you are a well-liked player, you don't need to say that. I mean, how many times did you hear Michael Jordan say, I'm loved by so many people, back when he was with the Bulls and they were winning championships left and right? Did you hear him say, so many people love me? Shaquille O'Neal, when he played for the Heat, especially, Did you hear him say that? So many people love me? Let's be honest. Caitlin Clark, Paige Buchers. What's her name? Aja. Oh gosh, what's her last name? Wilson. Again, phenomenal player. Arguably one of the best that's ever played in the WNBA. I haven't ever heard her say that. But this gal comes out who's been in the league. This is her second year in the league. And she's saying that. Her team, by the way, got their butts handed to them by the Fever. Fever just lost game 2. I'm glad to say I have a league pass for that. I actually do enjoy watching it. But the NBA is a little more fun. But hey, you know what? I'll support WNBA. That's fine.
Obviously, in the moment, it's hard to hear, but my support system is great. God has protected me in so many different ways.
Good on her for that.
So many different things in the past couple of years of my life, but I think just having this support and this love and being a part of an organization that really supports me and loves me is something that I couldn't imagine not being a part of.
What do you think the league's response?
Okay, so there's nothing wrong with that part of that. But again, what exactly happened? You got fouled hard, okay, which, again, you foul hard all the time, Angel. You do. Let's be honest here. You love giving hard fouls. That's what you do. That's one of the reasons why, maybe you're as effective as you are. People don't want to go into the paint with you. Kind of like Bill Laimbeer back in the day. He was known for giving hard fouls. But when you get it back, when you get hard foul back and you throw a temper tantrum and you say something like this, by the way, this was put up. This was a quote apparently from her. She's lucky cameras were on and I was held back. So what would you have done, Angel? Would you have escalated it? I think Caitlin Clark knew what would have happened if she would have stuck around. You would have started throwing hands. And you say that right there. You indicate, you imply, and not very subtly, might I add, that you would have started throwing hands, or at least something like that. You would have gotten physical about it. Caitlin Clark didn't want to get physical. If she wanted to get physical, she would have stood there and started jawing at you. She fouled you to let you know that you weren't going to be able to score freely after fouling one of her teammates. That was the thing. This was the whole thing. If you watch the video all the way through, there's a rebound. Angel Reese uses her elbow and a hand to push the player in front of her, a Fever player, out of the way, gets the rebound. Caitlin Clark's over there looking at the ref going, are you going to call that? And when nothing happens and Angel starts going back towards the glass because she got the ball, Caitlin says, no, you're not doing that. You can just see it going through her head. No, I'm not letting this happen. I'm not letting her score and take my team apart and just lay down. No. So she goes in, fouls her, and like I said, she lifted her arm. Had she not lifted her arm, it probably would not have been a flagrant. But she did. Okay, fair enough. And then she walked away because she'd made her point. You're not going to get in uncontested. We are going to have, you are going to get challenged. And Angel Reese took it personally. She took it, well, I would argue personally, right there, based on that comment and several other things. And the way she reacted, she didn't like it. She didn't like having the same thing done to her that she's done to others. I really wanted to like Angel Reese. I do. I do want to like her. She has a lot of expectation on her shoulders, but so does Caitlin Clark. And if you look at how the two handle it, there's really no comparison. And again, you look at some of the other big names out there. Aja Wilson. And oh gosh, what's the gal that plays for the Aces? Or is that Aja? Not the Aces. I can't remember her name. It'll come to me. Anyway, but there's several players out there that have that are trying to elevate the NBA. And I think they're doing a fair job of it. But you don't see them acting like this. Yeah, they might get feisty, but she's lucky cameras were on and I was held back. You kidding me? Why would you say that? It's silly. Anyway, so that's all I'm going to say on that stuff. Like I said, I don't understand why people think that's going to help. I really don't. I don't understand why the WNBA is shooting itself in the foot this way. Frankly, if I was the coach, I would have said, Angel, sit down, play the game, get the ball, put the ball in the hole. Other than that, sit down and shut up. Because here's the thing. This is a physical game. You like to be physical. Someone just got physical with you. Deal with it, kid. You're being paid very well. Deal with it. That's where I'd be. All right, let's move on. One of the biggest, well, let's do this first. San Diego. So San Diego has a problem. They have a whole boatload of illegal, and when I say illegal, I mean not licensed, not certified, whatever you want to call it, hot dog stands and food stands in general running around San Diego. Now, they say a lot of them are being run by illegal immigrants. I don't know that that's the truth, but it is what it is. The point is that this video has gone viral. It's of the owner of a long-time business in San Diego, Henry's Pub, apparently. Been open for 25 years, so since 2000, okay? And they're closing down. Why? Because there's all these food stands running around in front of and around this place that are selling products. They don't have to go through the license process. They don't have to go through they don't have to prove that they're clean and sanitary and all this stuff. They don't have to pay wages. Not, anywhere near. They're exempt from minimum wage, especially if it's illegal. And people are losing business. So 12 San Diego businesses, this is reposted by Colin Rugg, by the way. 12 San Diego businesses have launched a lawsuit against the city after illegal immigrants running food stands have demolished local business. The owners say the illegal food stands are destroying their business, as reported by Amy for San Diego, who is a reporter apparently. Democrat San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria is refusing to take action. Okay, so what this guy did was he came out and he literally tossed this food cart that was operating, tossed it. Many of the illegal stands are run by illegal immigrants who are taking over the sidewalks of San Diego, including in the Gaslamp Corridor, Belmont Park, and other locations throughout the city. I lose between $1,500 to $2,000 a night, said Ghost Heist Tacos owner Marius Cito. The businesses are seeking $12 million in damages from the city and demanding that it address the vendors. Now, I don't blame them. If you're going to be held to a standard, that standard needs to be held across the board. And while $1,500 to $2,000 a night, if you work for a big company, doesn't sound like a lot, to a small business, that's a huge chunk of change, especially when you figure if they're open 7 days a week, that's up to $14,000 a week. A week. That's a lot of money. That's a whole lot of money. So, especially when you're trying to pay, the high taxes in California and bills and all this other stuff, and again, you're in a blue city like San Diego. And I would play the video for you. You could probably see it running if you're watching this, but it has a lot of profanity in it. Tons of F words. But again, this is the problem. This is emblematic emblematic of an even bigger problem. This is dangerous right here. This is the first step to something extremely dangerous. When you have a low expectation society, In other words, a society that sees laws, sees no one following them, and says, well, why am I following the laws? A low trust society. Sorry, not low expectation. When you have a low trust society, this is the start of it. This is the start of how you get into vigilantism. This is the start of how you get into basically people just saying, we're not going to follow any rules. The government has no power here. And then rebelling against the government. And it could lead to something bigger, including that nasty, C war. I didn't finish it because that'll get flagged, but it starts with a C and has war on the end of it, right? That's where that could end up. It could. I know you're thinking, dude, that's a big stretch. No, it's not. No, it's not. Let's say this gets bigger and a lot of other businesses get involved. And pretty soon you see, hey, why are we giving, debit cards and money in terms of food stamps and whatnot when the state, meaning California, is already, $16 billion in debt? And yet they want to expand Medicaid, or what is it called? CalAid or something like that. I can't remember the exact term. CalMed. And they want to expand it to illegal immigrants now. And they want to give all these benefits to illegal immigrants. Meanwhile, people who are here legally, people who are running businesses, people who are paying taxes have to pay for all this. So when is it going to come down to where these businesses start saying, we're not paying taxes? And oh, by the way, if you try and come into our area to try and take our business because we're not paying it, we will resist you violently if necessary. That's going to happen. If they keep doing this stuff, if they keep having this low trust environment, that's going to happen. And it's not just in California. We'll talk about that here in a second. Washington State's in the same boat. Oh, very much. Very much. So that is scary. That, honest to God, is one of the scariest things I've seen in a long time. And this has been largely ignored. Largely ignored. But believe you me, that is scary. Let's see here. Okay, let's take a quick music break and we will be back and we'll head into some other things, shall we? Be right back. Did you guys catch the the meltdown the liberals had on the latest one over Biden? Yeah. So we'll get into Biden a little while. It's turning into, the Democrats have just made a bad thing for them even worse. They really have. But we'll get into that later. I want to. Oh gosh, this is great. This is just too delicious. It really, really, really is. Yeah. So Washington State passed several bills. And so we'll come back to Tim Eyman here in just a minute. But among the things that has started to, or one of the things that Sideshow Bob signed is Washington State is going to give unemployment checks. They're going to give unemployment to striking workers. I'll let that sink in for just a second. So unemployment checks to striking workers. Let me ask you this. If you quit a job, if you voluntarily quit a job, do you get unemployment? Not usually, right? Because you decided to quit. That was your choice. You did this. It wasn't you got fired and now you're out of a job. You don't know how to make ends meet. You decided to quit. Okay. Now, there are exceptions, of course. If you prove that it was a hostile work environment or something like that, I suppose you would probably be okay. But anyway. So let me ask you this. What's the difference between voluntarily quitting a job and going on strike? If you're struggling to figure that out, because you're a commonsensical, reasonable person, yeah, you're in the same boat. So what's going to happen is, and this is called out by several people, Brandy Cruz among the first. But let's read the Seattle Times. Seattle Times, Washington became one of 3 states Monday to allow unemployment benefits for striking workers after Governor Bob Ferguson, sideshow Bob Ferguson, signed the bill into law. Okay. And of course, the Washington Republicans retweeted this, which was great, except for the fact that, where were y'all? And if it wasn't, you guys were out there banging heads about this, why? Long story. So Brandy Cruz said, parents, and this is a very good tweet, start making childcare plans for the start of the next school year. 100%. Because here's what's going to happen. Over the summer, I'm guessing probably July, maybe June. Who knows? It could be June. But no later than August, let's put it that way, you will see something come up that the teachers will want to negotiate, or the teachers union rather, will want to negotiate or do something about. And that they'll make something up that, well, this was supposed to be in our contract and it isn't working. And so they'll threaten to go on strike. And it'll go and it'll go and it'll go. And pretty soon, guess what? They'll go on strike. Why? Because, well, now they get unemployment benefits. Well, that's weird. So let me ask you this. What if you say you quit your job, and then when you go to fill out the form, you say, well, I'm on strike. Let's say let's say you've worked at a place for a long time and you don't want to work for a while. So you go in and you say, hey, I'm going on strike. The business says, what now? What do you mean you're going on strike? There's no union here. What are you doing? I'm going on strike. I don't like these working conditions. Okay. So you're quitting? No, I'm just going to go on strike. Let me ask you this. If you go and you fill that out, if you say you're going on strike, what proof do you need to supply to the Washington State Unemployment Division, the Employment Security Division? What proof do you need to have that you're going on strike? Do you have to present do you have to be in a union to do that? What's the deal? So in this case, though, let's stick with what we know. The teachers could go on strike. Okay. Guess what? They're going to be making money just the same as everybody else. And guess what? They don't have to go to school. They don't have to go to work. They can sit at home. They can do their continuing education. They can talk. They can plan. They can strategize. They can do whatever they want. Is what it is. So, and guess what? Now the parents who are, plan around, okay, the kid's going to be in school from 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock, or whatever it is. That's when we go pick them up, or, their bus will arrive home. So I have a part-time job from 9 in the morning to 2, right? I work 5 hours, essentially. It would have to be just under 5 hours by Washington state law before you're required to take a lunch. Long story. Anyway, maybe I have a part-time job. Well, now, guess what? I don't have that part-time job because of this strike, who knows how long it's going to last, now I have to come home and provide childcare or find other childcare, which is going to cost me money. And guess what? Where are those people going to be paid for? Where is that money that is going to be sent to those teachers or whatever other union members? Where's that coming out of? If you look down at your pocket and pointed at it, you're exactly 100% right. It is coming out of our pockets. That's taxpayer money. How does that make any sense whatsoever? And again, it all goes back to they chose to go on strike. They chose. Now you say, well, but they're members of the union. The union decided to go on strike. Okay, and no offense, and are you not a teacher? Teachers make this big thing. Well, we care more about the kids. Okay, show it. Show me. When your union says we are going on strike, nope, because here's the thing. We're right in the middle of the school year, or, we got a school year starting up. These kids are trying to get back to school. The parents need this. No, I'm not going on strike. Well, we'll kick you out of the union. And my wages are being paid for by those parents. My wages are being paid for by these taxpayers. These kids, how are they going to grow up with a strong sense of doing right and wrong if, oh, well, you know what, I don't agree with this, so I'm going to walk off the job. This is a wage dispute. If I didn't think I was making enough money, I would go find a different frickin' job. Unions were originally put together to get rid of or to fight inhumane working conditions, and yes, wages too. But now it's become more political. It's not about the good of the general good of people. Now it's about political power. I'm sorry, it is. Now, and the thing is, I would argue, unnecessary. Because guess what? What I'm doing right here has as much power as a union had 120 years ago, or 100 years ago, or 50 years ago, or 40 years ago. It's true. I can go on to my computer and I can express my viewpoint, and I can get a hold of a paper, a newspaper, and I can interview with that paper. I can interview with an online influencer, so to speak, do it over Zoom, have it look really, really good and really, really professional. And I can have the people that I'm, striking with, so to speak, or also that have disputes. We can all be sitting here in a round table. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 microphones, all talking. We can have a round table discussion. And it can go viral. We could go on Joe Rogan. We could go on wherever. If I could call, if it's something against, like say I'm in the, Federal Workers Union or whatever the hell it's called, and I'm against Trump, MSNBC will have me on like that. Same with CNN. They don't care. Gets them ratings. Now, going back to Washington, what else is a really big thing in Washington? What's a really big business? If you said, well, I don't know, Microsoft, yeah, that's true. But what's kind of the original big Washington business? Boeing. So, Ari Hoffman kind of added to what Brandy Cruz said. Ari Hoffman, quote, tweeted the Seattle Times and said, "Goodbye, Boeing. I hope everyone likes having their kids at home. You're going to get to spend a lot more time with them. Every teachers union will go on strike this year." I would argue this year, next year, sometime in there. But Boeing, same thing. You really think the machinist union isn't going to take advantage of this? Or what other unions, whatever other unions are there, you really think they're not going to take advantage of this? I mean, hell, the union doesn't have to dip into its funds to cover unemployment. Psh, no. Good God, no. The state will pay for it. Never mind that the state, quote unquote, is the taxpayers. Who cares? State will cover it. Why wouldn't we want to have our workers go on strike? Our members. I mean, it's not like they work for Boeing, right? No, they work for the union, which is absurd. And who knows, who cares if this huge, huge deal that President Trump just bent over backwards to get for Boeing out of, what was it, Qatar? What was it, $200 billion or something like that? An enormous contract. And Boeing's been struggling. Who cares? Who cares? Who cares if it jeopardizes that contract? And the Qatari government or whatever it was cancels it. It says, no, we're going to Airbus because we can guarantee they'll get their stuff here on time. Who cares, right? Because guess what? We just found a great loophole to get money to funnel money into our members, which will then be funneled back to our preferred politicians, or, well, it'll be funneled through dues back to our union, which then we can use to support liberal politicians who have done nothing for us. But hey, by God, they get us extra money out of taxpayer pockets. I mean, is anybody dumb enough not to think that's going to happen? I'm just curious. I need to get a hold of my liberal teacher friend and ask her, do you think this will happen? I wonder. Actually, they're both teachers, her and her husband. But I just wonder. I wonder what they think of this. Who knows? All right. Let's finish this segment out. Let's see. There's another thing with Sideshow Bob. That law that gutted basically the initiative a couple years or a year or so ago, Initiative 2081, the Parents' Rights Initiative. Yeah, Bob Ferguson just signed that, the bill that overrode basically and gutted 2081. He signed that. So now, if a predator hunts your kids, they can't do a thing. The schools won't tell you anything. They can't tell you anything. If they're grooming your kids, they're not going to tell you anything. Let's just listen to what that sounds like, shall we?
Women have, if they're old enough to get pregnant, they're old enough to make their own.
So this is Jamie Peterson, who is the Senate Majority Leader for Washington State, by the way.
Decisions about what happens with their bodies, okay? And parents do not have the right to Women have, if they're old enough to get pregnant, they're old enough to make. Women have, if they're old enough to get pregnant, they're old enough to make their own decisions about what happens with their bodies, okay? And parents do not have the right to change that or make a different decision or be notified in advance. Women have.
Why? What kind of sicko would say that? Well, Jamie Peterson would. So basically, you know, when your kid starts menstruating, when your daughter, you know, has her first period, she's old enough to, you know, have kids at that time. At that point, you have no say in the matter. You are done. You don't matter at all, and you shouldn't matter, according to Jamie Peterson. Oh, it gets worse. Let's listen to and I can only describe this guy as pervert aligned, shall we say? I don't want to say pedophile aligned because that may be taking it a step too far, but let's listen to Chris Rakedahl, who is the supposed superintendent of education.
We have a civil rights framework in this state. It includes trans youth. This is a biological question. It is quite simply inaccurate to say biologically that there are only boys and there are only girls.
Yeah, you heard that right.
There's a continuum. There is a science to this. There are children
who
are born intersex. There are children whose chromosomes and their hormones aren't consistent with their sex at birth.
Okay, so again, Chris Rakedahl, the pervert in charge of public schools, who, again, denies biological fact. So, and again, a lot of people they hear this, they say, well, we need to leave Washington State. Okay, and what? I get so tired of that. I'm leaving my state. Awesome. So when you go to your new state, be it Idaho, Nevada, if you're leaving California, Texas, that kind of thing, what do you think is going to happen when the state that you left falls completely? You know, in the case of Washington, it's falling faster and faster and faster because guess what? All the conservatives are leaving. So counties and cities that were previously staunchly Republican are now turning blue. Spokane is a great example of that. Spokane used to be reliably conservative, or at least, you know, right-leaning centrist. And then guess what? They started having problems. And so people started moving into Post Falls, Idaho, and Coeur d'Alene and Hayden. And, you know, or maybe even a little, even a little more east of that, or even south towards Boise, that area. They got out of Dodge. Okay, great. So guess what? Now it's accelerating. And now Spokane has gone full on woke. And Spokane County has become a swing county. Look at Whitman County, Washington State. The university is there. A lot of people are leaving that because they don't like the fact that Washington State University is completely woke now. So they leave. They move to a different county. They move to a different state. And now guess what? Whitman County is reliably Democrat on about 80 to 85% of issues. You're not helping anything because guess what? Once that state goes blue, people are going to start flowing into your area because they want what you have. Liberals are going to start moving into Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls. Already have, by the way. And so now those areas are getting bluer. They're not blue yet, but they're getting there. Kootenai County, that kind of thing. They're starting to see liberal woke agendas getting in there. Because guess what? Now the people who were in Washington that came up from California who thought, wow, this is going to be better. We're here. We're liberal, but we're not crazy liberal, right? Well, now they're going, what the hell? We voted for, Chris Gregoire and Jay Inslee. And because, they're Democrats and we're Democrats too. And wow, now this place is getting pretty bad. I wonder why. That's really weird. We don't get it. So now we're going to move to Idaho. Yeah, we have to deal with all those, conservatives, but at least, we have space. We were able to buy, we moved to Seattle and we were able to sell our home there. And now we bought, 5 acres in, I don't know, Hayden, Idaho, or Smelterville, or wherever, okay? Oh, hey, look at that. There's a name on the town council. It's got a D next to it. Let's vote for that. They don't learn the lesson, okay? They don't figure out that, hey, by the way I've been voting is what's causing this problem. And so now areas are getting redder, or getting bluer, rather. Leaving a state doesn't solve a damn thing. No disrespect to Glenn Beck. But what is leaving Washington going to solve? Yeah, it might solve the problem for a short time. Sure, of course it will. I could move right now to Idaho. And guess what? I'd have the ability to go in to my local gun store and buy the size of magazine I want to. I would be able to have select fire transferable weapons. I wouldn't have to worry about, I would be able to buy an AR-15, no problem, or an MP5 or whatever. I could do that legally. But guess what? 5, 10, 20 years down the road, whoops, here comes all these problems that I thought I'd left behind. And now they're coming for me. And now they're coming back. Because I didn't do what I should do and get after it. And here's the thing. Even my suggestion on what to do, which is, have counties switch to a different state. That's not going to solve it per se, but it will go a long ways to slowing it down. Maybe even turning the tide, because once people see, oh, wow, this county, which was struggling, is now gone completely crazy with its, economic growth. And then maybe they'll start listening. Or maybe, maybe these liberals who say, oh, good riddance. That's fine. Eastern Washington's not worth anything anyway. Let them go. Okay, great. And then they see smiling faces, happier, They see people who are not sad. And when people from now what is left of Washington try and move over into this other area, and they get greeted with, hey, you're not going to vote the same way you did there, right? Because that's why we left. So if you're planning on doing that, go back where you came from. I don't know. Makes sense. And anyway. Okay. We will come back. Oh gosh, there is one more thing, but I'll wait until we come back because it's hilarious. And then we'll come back and do the rest of this stuff that I had lined up for today because good grief, there's a lot of it. All right, folks, this has been the first segment of the Chris Richman Show for Wednesday, May 21st, 2025. Appreciate you joining us. We'll be back for segment 2 real quick.